So imagine a master contractor, right? Like 30 years of experience under his belt.
Okay, yeah.
And he's standing outside this massive billion-dollar public works site, middle of a booming city.
Right.
He's looking through the chain link fence at a project that he is honestly more than qualified to build, but he is completely locked out from even submitting a bid.
Which happens all the time, yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
why? I mean, it's not because he lacks the skill or the knowledge.
No, I'm not.
It's simply because he doesn't personally own like 50 specialized framing rigs, and he doesn't have a dedicated in-house HR department.
Right, the sheer scale just isn't there.
Yeah. And that gap between having the talent and having the operational scale is where countless small businesses just get trapped.
It is a profoundly frustrating reality, and it's true for independent operators across almost every sector, really.
Oh, totally.
Because the barrier to entry isn't competence.
Mm.
It is capital and capacity. But today, we are looking at a specific strategy designed to dismantle that exact barrier.
Yes, so welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are decoding this really fascinating strategy guide called The Architecture of the Joint Venture.
It's a great read.
It really is. It is essentially a highly specific blueprint for how small, solo firms, specifically in the construction and contracting space, can merge their forces to bypass those traditional gatekeepers.
And eventually become industry-dominating powerhouses.
Exactly. Now, I have to admit, before digging into this blueprint, I always had this highly romanticized view of running a solo business.
Oh, a lot of people do.
Right. I thought of it like being a lone, street-level superhero. You know, you're patrolling your neighborhood, handling everything yourself.
Swinging between buildings.
Exactly. Swinging between buildings with the weight of the entire operation on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And this joint venture strategy felt like realizing you can't stop a world-ending threat alone, so you finally call in the rest of the Avengers.
I mean, it is a fun image, for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but the reality we are unpacking today is much more mechanical and, frankly, far more strategic than just putting on capes.
Fair enough.
Because for you listening, even if you have absolutely nothing to do with the construction business,
Right.
even if you've never swung a hammer in your life, the mechanics we are going to explore are completely universal.
Because it's about leverage. Right.
Exactly. We are talking about the granular details of how you take whatever resources you currently have, combine them with the resources of others, and entirely change the economic reality of your business.
It is basically a masterclass in scaling up to compete with the giants.
It really is.
So let's get into those mechanics. Because before anyone can swing a hammer on a mega contract, the foundation actually has to be poured.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. And according to this blueprint, that foundation is the legal and administrative architecture.
The invisible structure.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't just shake hands with 4 other business owners and suddenly declare yourselves a mega firm.
Right. The developers aren't going to buy that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You have to formalize profit sharing and liability legally.
I do want to push back on the reality of that, though. I mean, doesn't merging essentially mean giving up your hard-won independence?
That's common fear, yeah.
Because people start solo firms specifically to be their own boss, right?
Sure.
So if you merge with the guys down the street, how do you ensure no one feels like they are pulling all the weight while having to split the profits evenly?
That's the big question.
It feels a bit like moving in with roommates for the first time, you know?
Sure.
Like you absolutely need a rock-solid lease agreement and a highly visible chore chart.
Or else what?
Or else someone is going to get stuck paying the whole rent or doing all the dishes.
Right. Well, the roommate analogy works perfectly for the daily operations and the chores.
Okay.
But financially, the architecture of a joint venture is much more akin to a corporate marriage.
Okay, a corporate marriage.
Yeah, the blueprint addresses this operational friction head on. You don't just dump all your money into a shared checking account and hope for the best.
That would be a disaster.
A total disaster. Instead, you create a brand new holding company. Every potential partner opens their books, and you bring in third-party auditors to evaluate P&L statements, profit and loss.
So it's completely objective. You eliminate the emotional attachment someone might have to their own business.
Precisely. You evaluate the hard assets and the cash flow each person is bringing to the table. And then you assign equity in the new joint venture proportionally.
Wait, so if one partner brings in like a massive fleet of trucks
Yeah.
and another brings in mostly localized client contracts, the legal framework assigns an exact, mathematically fair valuation to those contributions.
Exactly. That is how you prevent resentment. It is an evolutionary step that transitions a group of stressed-out, overworked neighbors into a streamlined, legally shielded corporate entity.
Wow. And once that corporate entity is formed, the administrative advantages seem massive.
Oh, they're huge.
The guide heavily emphasizes centralizing back-office operations and payroll.
Right.
So if you have 5 solo contractors who just merged, that means you used to have 5 different people spending their Friday nights hunched over a kitchen table.
Stressing out about tax forms, yeah.
Exactly. Calculating hours, writing checks, and paying for 5 separate accounting software subscriptions.
It is an incredible duplication of effort, and it eats directly into profit margins.
It's just wasted time and money.
Completely.
Yeah.
But by centralizing the back office operations under the umbrella of the joint venture, you instantly eliminate that redundancy.
You drastically reduce the individual overhead.
Yes, you go from paying 5 independent accountants to paying 1 commercial accounting firm that handles the entire joint venture.
The financial relief is obvious, but I feel like the mental relief of clearing that administrative debris out of the way must be huge.
So it's life-changing for these guys.
It allows these founders to actually focus on their trade and their scaling strategy rather than fighting with tax software at midnight.
But here's the catch. You can have the most beautifully structured corporate paperwork, right?
Yeah.
And a perfectly centralized payroll system.
Sure.
But if you don't have the physical capacity to take on bigger jobs, you are just a highly organized group of small-timers.
So how do they actually flex their muscles in the real world?
That brings us to their physical hardware.
Right. The blueprint calls it hyperscaling via pooled inventory.
Yes. It details the massive competitive edge gained by combining high-end equipment.
We are talking about table saws, specialized framing rigs, heavy-duty telehandlers.
Exactly. It's one thing to pool your paperwork, but physically combining heavy machinery changes the game entirely.
I mean, I love the idea of this. It's like a shared custody agreement for a massive telehandler.
That's a great way to look at it. Heavy machinery requires immense capital expenditure.
Yeah. A single specialized framing rig can cost what a starter home used to cost.
Easily. And when solo operators try to finance that equipment individually, they take on crushing debt.
So by pooling the inventory they already own, the joint venture achieves massive scale without taking on a single dollar of new bank loans.
Exactly. It's instant scale.
But I do have to wonder about the shared custody aspect of this.
How so?
Well, we've all experienced the tragedy of the commons, right? If everyone owns something, nobody takes care of it.
Ah, yeah.
If it's not my telehandler anymore, maybe I drive it a little harder. How do they handle the anxiety of repair costs?
It's a valid concern.
Because when you're a solo operator, a blown transmission on a rig can literally bankrupt you.
That is exactly why the blueprint mandates a strict shared maintenance schedule. And it's rigidly enforced by the new corporate structure.
Oh, so it's not just a gentleman's agreement.
No, not at all. Maintenance is no longer treated as an individual's unpredictable emergency. It becomes a predictable, shared operational line item.
Okay, that makes sense.
The joint venture uses commercial fleet management software to track the hours on every single piece of equipment.
Wow, this is highly monitored.
Very. And when a rig needs a new transmission, the cost is absorbed by the joint venture's general fund.
Which is padded by the increased revenue of their larger contracts.
Exactly. The risk is distributed.
So no one is lying awake at 3 a.m. terrified of a repair bill.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense. But what do you actually do with all this combined, well-maintained equipment?
Well, a unified, well-maintained fleet allows the joint venture to work on multiple massive job sites simultaneously.
Right.
And this is the real magic trick of the entire strategy. By operating across multiple zip codes at once with high-end machinery, they instantly mimic the footprint of a Tier 1 contractor.
Let's clarify that term for a second, because Tier 1 sounds a bit vague, like a VIP status at a nightclub or something.
Right.
What does it actually mean in a technical sense?
In the commercial construction world, Tier 1 is largely about bonding capacity and risk absorption.
Bonding capacity.
Yeah. Developers require contractors to carry surety bonds, which act as a form of insurance. If the contractor goes bankrupt halfway through building a skyscraper, the surety bond pays to finish the project.
Ah, so it protects the developer.
Exactly. But solo operators cannot get multi-million-dollar surety bonds because they don't have the assets to back them up.
Right. They're too small of a fish.
But our new joint venture, with its massive cooled inventory, pristine legal structure, and combined revenue, suddenly qualifies for those massive bonds.
Wow.
They can absorb the liability of a major project without defaulting.
Okay, so the picture is really coming together now.
Yeah.
You have the corporate structure locked down.
Yeah.
You have the bonding capacity. You have this unified, debt-free fleet of telehandlers just humming along flawlessly.
Right.
But heavy machinery is basically just expensive metal if you don't have the human capital to run it.
Right.
And the raw materials to build with.
Exactly.
So how do they synthesize a workforce large enough to actually match their new equipment?
They command the commercial labor market by merging their individual crews to build what the blueprint calls a deep bench.
A deep bench. But look, combining crews sounds great on a spreadsheet.
Sure.
But construction crews have distinct, deeply ingrained cultures. Like, Guy A's crew might be used to taking 30-minute lunches and working until sundown,
Right.
while Guy B's crew might be union adjacent, taking strict one-hour lunches and leaving at exactly 3 p.m.
It happens all the time.
If you just mash 50 guys together, you aren't getting a deep bench, you are getting a turf war.
Yeah, it could turn into a disaster.
Does the strategy actually account for that operational friction?
It absolutely has to, or the venture collapses. The text is very clear. This isn't just a large, disorganized crowd of guys holding hammers.
Okay, good.
You aren't just mashing cultures together. You are structuring an entirely new hierarchy.
How so?
Think of it like an orchestra pooling disparate soloists. You need a unified conductor.
Right.
The joint venture deliberately pairs master carpenters from one original firm with specialized apprentices from another.
Oh, wow. So you are deliberately breaking up the old cliques and reforming them around specific skill sets.
Exactly. And the massive advantage of this deep bench is redundancy.
Right, because if you're a solo guy, you might have one lead apprentice.
Yeah.
And if that apprentice gets the flu, your entire job just slows to a crawl.
But the joint venture has a deep roster. If a specialist is out, another cross-trained master steps in immediately.
That is so smart.
It really is. This larger, highly organized crew permits vastly faster turnaround times on massive framing contracts.
Because they can just swarm the problem.
Exactly. The joint venture can swarm a site with skilled labor, finish weeks ahead of a solo operator's schedule, and then move the entire apparatus to the next site.
And while those master carpenters are swarming the site, they obviously need materials to build with.
Lots of materials, yeah.
The blueprint brings up the power of the collective when negotiating for better bulk pricing on lumber and hardware.
Right.
This is basically getting a Costco membership for construction, right?
That's a perfect analogy, actually.
You're walking into the supplier and demanding a massive discount simply because you are now buying for the equivalent of 5 companies at once.
It is the Costco principle applied to raw industrial supply. But it's fundamentally about economies of scale.
Okay.
When you have a solo contractor buying lumber for a single residential house, you are what economists call a price taker.
A price taker.
Yes. The supplier tells you what the lumber costs, and you pay it, or you don't build. You have zero leverage.
Because your order is a drop in the bucket to their bottom line. If you walk away, they honestly don't care.
Exactly. But when the joint venture walks in, they aren't buying for one house.
Right.
They're procuring materials for 10 commercial sites simultaneously. Suddenly, the entire dynamic flips.
They become a price maker.
Yes. The volume of their order is so vital to the supplier's quarterly revenue that the joint venture can dictate the terms.
That is wild.
They command the market, driving down their material costs significantly, which in turn dramatically widens their profit margins on every single job they execute.
The compounding effect of all this is staggering, honestly.
It builds on itself so quickly.
We have the administrative foundation and the centralized payroll. We have the unified fleet and the multi-million-dollar bonding capacity.
Right.
We have the deep bench of cross-trained master carpenters. We have economies of scale driving down lumber prices.
It's the full package.
The structure is set, the tools are pooled, the materials are cheap, and the crew is ready. So what is the ultimate target for this newly formed powerhouse?
The ultimate target is landing the whale.
The whale.
Taking a seat at the billion-dollar table to bid on major public works and massive private developments.
But is it really as straightforward as walking into a massive developer's office, handing them a shiny new business card, and just declaring yourself a powerhouse?
I mean, no, obviously not.
Right, because don't these general contractors look at the paperwork and say, wait a minute, weren't you guys just 5 separate guys doing roof repairs and residential additions last year?
They absolutely do ask that.
You expect me to hand you a $50 million phase of a public transit hub.
It's a completely fair assumption. which is why it's not just a declaration. It requires a documented demonstration of scale.
The paperwork has to back it up.
Exactly. The developers don't actually care about your history as a solo roofer.
Oh, really?
They care about your current P&L, your combined balance sheet, and your new bonding capacity.
So the numbers do all the talking.
Yes. The numbers prove that the entity standing in front of them is a major player. But the blueprint provides a very specific tactical roadmap for getting your foot in the door of those billion-dollar public works.
And it heavily involves leveraging minority-owned and disadvantaged business certifications, right?
It does. It's a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Let's dig into the mechanics of that, because it sounds like a critical key to this whole strategy. How do set-aside contracts actually work under the hood?
Okay.
And how powerful are those certifications for unlocking these massive projects?
They are arguably the most powerful mechanism for market entry at the highest levels.
Wow, really?
Yes. When the government funds a massive infrastructure project, say a new airport terminal or a citywide transit expansion,
Right.
they legally mandate that a certain percentage of that billion-dollar budget must be awarded to minority-owned, women-owned, or disadvantaged business enterprises.
And these are called set-aside contracts.
Exactly.
But here's the catch-22 for the solo operator, right?
Yeah.
A brilliantly skilled, minority-earned solo firm might hold that highly coveted certification.
True.
But as we established at the beginning of this deep dive, they don't have 50 framing rigs or the bonding capacity to handle a massive phase of an airport terminal.
Right. They lack the scale.
So the set-aside money just sits there, or it gets deferred, because the certified businesses lack the scale to absorb the work.
Precisely. That is the tragic flaw of the traditional solo model.
But the joint venture solves this.
It solves it elegantly through legal structuring. You can merge with 4 other non-certified companies, but you structure the new holding company so that the individual with the minority-owned certification maintains a 51% controlling interest in the new joint venture.
Ah, wow. So the government looks at the ownership structure of the new mega firm,
Yeah.
sees the 51% controlling stake, and the entire massive joint venture retains the certification.
Exactly. By utilizing that 51-49 equity split, they maintain the vital certification while simultaneously wielding the combined labor, equipment, and bonding capacity of all the partner firms.
That is brilliant.
The joint venture now has the size and power of a massive corporation, and it has the legal certification to access tens of millions of dollars in set-aside funds that the standard megacorporations are legally barred from touching.
It is the ultimate market capture.
Truly.
You are boxing out the small guys with your massive scale, and you are boxing out the massive legacy corporations with your specific certifications.
Exactly right.
You have basically built a custom-designed vehicle to bypass every single gatekeeper in the industry.
And that brings us to the ultimate thesis of the entire blueprint. It requires a fundamental paradigm shift.
Paradigm shift, yeah.
Because the real barrier to entry for billion-dollar public works isn't skill, it is scale and certification.
Right.
By combining forces, these operators unlock doors that are permanently structurally locked to solo operators.
The text emphasizes that mindset shift so heavily.
It has to.
You have to stop looking at the firm down the street as a rival trying to steal your residential customers.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, they aren't the enemy.
exactly. You start looking at them as a missing piece of your own engine. You move away from competing with your neighbors over scraps, and you collaborate with them to just take over the entire block.
It is a stunning transformation when you lay it out from start to finish.
It really is. Let's briefly recap this journey because we've covered a lot.
Yeah, let's do it.
We started with the image of a highly skilled but stressed solo contractor completely locked out of the big jobs. They are drowning in back office overhead, terrified that a broken telehandler will bankrupt them, forced to accept whatever retail price the lumberyard dictates.
And staring through the fence at public works projects they can't bid on.
Exactly. And through the architecture of the joint venture, they completely rewrite their reality.
They formalize their liability, submit to third-party audits, and centralize their payroll.
They pool their heavy machinery to achieve Tier 1 bonding capacity without taking on new debt.
Right.
They cross-train their crews to build a deep bench with massive redundancy. They leverage their combined volume to dictate prices to the supply chain.
And they structure their equity to capture massive government set-asides, They become an undeniable powerhouse.
And for you listening, we want to remind you that the core mechanics of this blueprint merging dormant resources to bypass gatekeepers and achieve instant scale can be applied to almost any industry or collaborative endeavor.
It's not just construction. And that actually leads me to a final thought for you to mull over today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've just seen how flawlessly this joint venture model works for physical assets like framing rigs, heavy machinery, and lumber.
Yeah.
But what happens when independent freelancers, small tech startups, or solo creatives in your own field realize they can use this exact same blueprint?
Oh, wow.
What if independent software developers and freelance marketing teams merge their digital benches, pool their expensive software licenses, combine their specialized talents into a single holding company?
And start pitching themselves to billion-dollar clients as unified powerhouse agencies.
Exactly. If every small business in every sector stopped fighting over scraps with their neighbors and started actively collaborating to bypass the gatekeepers,
Yeah.
could the traditional bloated mega corporation suddenly find itself entirely obsolete?
It definitely makes you wonder. I mean, maybe it's time to stop trying to be the lone vigilante doing everything yourself, right?
Right.
And start figuring out exactly who you need to call to build your own absolute powerhouse. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.